we've started a bit of a tradition here, Bob. Every time there's a new release of Octopus, you and I get together and take a look at it, kick the tires, so to speak.
Yeah, exactly. And actually, this is probably the first time that people have seen my background and actually get to see my office as opposed to like the virtual background I've been using for so
We're,
long.
we're all about transparency here at
That's
Octopus.
right.
So in that flavor or vein, there you go. There's Bob's background. Lots of instruments. Cool.
Yes.
So for those who don't know, we've got a new version of Octopus now available, 2024.2, shipped on June 11th. And we got a lot of stuff to talk about. We've got two sections to this that we'll be covering. We'll be covering off the what's new in the latest release for on-prem customers. We'll also talk a little bit about some of the new features for Octopus Cloud. If you want to find out more, you can go to this URL here, octopus.com/what's new. There you'll find a listing of everything that's shipped. And if you're the more textual variety, you can get a listing of what's new there. So simpler deployments, external feed triggers, all these sorts of stuff we'll be talking about in this video. So here we go. Let's go. So first and foremost, I guess we'll start with what's new in Octopus Cloud just for the latest and greatest. So
Yeah.
we've got the new GitHub app, which is now available on the marketplace. So if you go to github.com/marketplace, search for Octopus, you'll see a whole bunch of things listed. The GitHub app is now available. This will help alleviate the need to use API keys through your GitHub Actions, for example. This provides an automatic connection or trusted connection between your Octopus instance and GitHub. And so you can actually do all the operations there in a trusted context. This is now available for you to use. Have you started using this, Bob?
Yeah, I have started using it. I used it for all my configuration as code projects locally.
Okay.
And that, yeah, it definitely eliminated the need for me to have a PAT, which I was really excited about. It's super simple to convert over. And then actually there's some other niceties that come along for the ride. Once you convert over, it's like I can reference files in the project that's already using config as code as opposed to having to specify a Git repository or anything like that. So I thought that was really nice. There's just a lot of those little niceties. It just makes the smooth, it makes it a little bit smoother to use.
Yeah. Yeah. If you happen to leak, I know I've mentioned this before, but if you accidentally happen to leak an API key from Octopus, we're part of that list of trusted
Yeah.
vendors within GitHub. It will automatically revoke the change that's committed to GitHub, and you'll be notified via email that this not PAT, but API key has been exposed inadvertently. Leaking API key is not a good thing. So there you go.
Yeah.
So
I
new app for you to use.
definitely have to store some of that stuff on a password manager so I don't accidentally do that.
That's right. So yeah, if you want to check out the blog post, it's available up on our blog. It's at octopus.com/blog. Michael Richardson wrote about this in detail, talking about the what it was like before and what it's like now, and all the various nuances and twists and turns and stuff like that. But it's a good thing going forward,
Yeah.
much more
It's
secure.
it was surprisingly easy to configure. After I got over like a couple quick install bits, yeah, it was really easy to configure within Octopus Deploy.
Another feature we have is configurable deployment freezes for greater control over deployments. What's this, Bob? I love this feature.
Yeah, so imagine that you have a holiday slowdown and not all your operations people are around town, around the town for at the end of December. And so you're like, you know what? We need to stop deployments except for emergencies. And so this allows you to have that type of, I want to configure this deployment freeze over a selected period of time to prevent an accidental release from getting up to production without the appropriate approvals and everything like that.
Yeah, Black Friday comes to mind if you don't want to
Yeah.
touch your website during a heavy production time, or if your website's going to be hammered, that sort of thing. We've got some docs on this. We also have an instance here. We can see how to set this up. So underneath your instance configuration, you'll find a section now called deployment freezes. And there you can specify a schedule. You can give it a name, like say, for example, Black Friday. And then I can specify a scheduled start time and end time. And during this time, deployments will be frozen basically from executing. So gives you that nice window of prevention.
Yeah.
Awesome stuff.
No, I've been wanting this for quite some time. I know a lot of our customers have as well, especially for those types of scenarios, like you just mentioned,
Yep.
the Black Friday or the Super Bowl Sunday or something like that,
Yeah,
where
yeah.
yeah, don't want to touch broad.
If you want to read more about it, again, you can check out our docs.
Yep.
Awesome stuff. All right, moving right along. Better visibility of key account information with license usage dashboard. So, in your cloud instance, there's this new section here called license usage, and inside there you'll get a rundown of all the licenses that are being used for your instance. And so this is a nice little view now that we have available. If you're at all interested, you can check that out, which is now available in Octopus Cloud.
And just a
Moving
couple
over.
of As
Oh,
I say,
yep.
just one quick note about that. Um, if you don't have, so it does break it down by space. If you don't
Yep.
have access to all the spaces, all it will show at the bottom would be basically other spaces, and then hey, this, you have projects using those other spaces, tenants, targets,
Yep.
machines, whatever the case may be, because we didn't want to have a situation where we didn't show you all the information, but we also wanted to make sure that you could see where all of the usage was going. So some people, they might just see other spaces. Administrators like yourself and I on samples, we're going to see all the spaces. So
Yep.
it may not match this view exactly. Just as an
Yep.
FYI.
All right, so those are some new features available in Octopus Cloud. We do ship Octopus Cloud first,
Yep.
sort of like a canary, allows people to experiment with features because we have more control over those environments. Moving over to on-prem or stuff that you will install. So starting off with simpler deployments to Kubernetes with the Octopus Kubernetes agent. There's a blog post available for this. We also did a video about this up on YouTube. Alistair talked in detail about this. Are you using this today, Bob, or are you know of customers who are using the new Kubernetes agent?
Well, I'm using it today. I'd be happy to show you my screen, what this
Yeah,
kind of
sure.
looks
Let's
like
switch
and
over.
the difference. Yeah. Yeah. So in my particular instance that I have configured, first up, you might be confused by some of the new UI. This is giving you a brief preview as to our new user interface. This might be
I
what it
want the
looks
new
like.
U. I want the new UI.
I know. Well, I had to beg to
There
get
you go.
access to it. So, but yeah, so there's actually two types of targets now for Kubernetes. There's the classical target, which we call the Kubernetes API, which I currently have disabled, and then we have the new Kubernetes agent. In terms of what it looks like and how it behaves an awful lot like a polling tentacle that you would install on the Kubernetes cluster. But there's a lot more nuance to something like that. That's just a gross oversimplification. So
Mm,
if you're curious about using it or what it looks like when you add it, so when you add a Kubernetes cluster, now you're going to get an option to either add as a Kubernetes API or a Kubernetes agent. And so if I add as a Kubernetes agent, I can specify everything. I just tests, just give it all the good stuff. And then if
yep.
I click on next, it's going to give me how to install, say, the NFS CSI driver. So the Helm to do that. And
Yep.
then we're also going to provide you with all of the information on how to install it using Helm. So you can just copy this directly to your clipboard, run it on your
Yep.
Kubernetes cluster, and it'll install it directly on your Kubernetes cluster. So easy peasy to do something along those lines. I've been using it for a while. Um, what I like about it is I don't have to set up any sort of crazy service account or anything along those lines like I had
Mm,
with my Kubernetes API. So you can see that I have to provide like an AKS token to handle this, or
yeah.
mess
Yep.
around with any sort of that authentication. So it definitely solves a lot of those problems.
Very nice. Awesome stuff. So if you want to read about more about this, you can check out the blog post. It goes into detail about what you should see when installing this stuff. And as I said before, we did a video about this featuring Alistair and Kit talking in detail about what it is, why we built it, etc. So check that out. That's now available also in the 2024.2 release. Moving right along, external feed triggers for Kubernetes for automated releases. I like to akin this to Arc or automatic release creation. The
Yep.
idea is that you're going to look at external feeds for things like Helm chart updates or container updates, and based off that, will trigger a action or a release basically within Octopus based on updates here. We've got a blog post that talks about this, or docs that talk about this as well. Well, a little bit about this, Bob, at all?
Yeah. I set it up and I've messed around with it a little bit. I really like it. I really like that ability that I can now hopefully remove the create release step from my build server. So really all I have to do is just push up my Docker Hub or my Helm chart or
Yeah.
whatever the case may be. Sorry, my Docker container up to Docker Hub, not the other way around. So all I have to do is that, and I don't have to add all those additional steps or anything along those lines. So I thought it was really slick to get that all configured. The only thing to make note of is that if you are using it with config as code, it will create releases using the main branch by default. So that's just kind of just as a known limitation as of right now.
Okay. Good to mention.
Yeah.
Improve visibility and management of variables for tenanted deployments. We have a docs page that talks a little bit about this as well, if you're at all curious. So the new tenant variables page we've been working on for a few releases now. It's getting better and better. I remember talking to the PMs about this, being able to assign multiple tenants to multiple projects at various times and seeing updates flow through, which was awesome. So we're doing a lot of work here. Anything to add?
No, I just really like this new view. I especially like being able to go on that project, especially for the common variables. Previously, we didn't have that showing up, and it's just so much better now. I really
Yep.
enjoy being able to see all that. So yeah,
Let's see if we can take a look at a quick demo here. If we've got one that features our tenants. So we have a space here for tenants. I can
yep,
jump over. Unfortunately, I don't have the new UI like you do.
I
Sorry.
know.
So if we
Yeah,
take a look at
yeah.
tenant
We
variables
try to
here, there we go. Yeah,
we try to limit we limit samples from getting the latest and greatest all the time because we want to make sure that it represents what people can see today in Octopus Cloud.
yeah, absolutely. So yeah, you can see multiple environments across multiple tenants, assign them, etc., which is cool.
Yep.
So improve visibility there. ServiceNow integration improvements for better control of change requests. Some people may not have been exposed to ServiceNow. So ServiceNow is basically a way of it's a lot of things. ServiceNow is a beast. It's a big,
Oh
big
yeah.
application. And we integrate with ServiceNow, particularly around the ITSM module. So if you're doing change requests, those can flow through to Octopus, and you can have it act as an arbiter for releases. So the integration improvements here revolve around the task log and emergency changes and any state transitions. For example, if we go to auto transition to closed, we also do a nice thing here, which is populating change request fields through Octopus. So we have these variables now that are exposed via octopus.servicenow. So you can check those out as well. All of these are written up in our blog post. And if you're doing integration with ServiceNow, you can check out Isaac's blog post there, which is kind of cool. Moving along, better visibility of key account information. We talked about this in the cloud
Yep.
update. You can get your license usage. Performance improvements for faster task queue. This is all about some of the work that we're doing under the hood. You're going to see a lot better performance moving forward around Octopus execution. We talk about this in our docs as well. We have our task cap as well, which is featured as part of Octopus Cloud. Anything you want to talk about here?
Yeah, it's mostly around the deploy release step. What we were finding is that it would be executing the child tasks in a very odd way. And so what this does is this just kind of basically moves those tasks to be much higher and get a better priority on something like that. So we're seeing a performance improvement just by doing something along those lines.
Fantastic. So yeah, as you can see, lots and lots of stuff that we've been shipping.
Yeah, yeah,
You can take a look at the list if you're wanting more sort of detailed view of what's there. We've added some also changes for support for Windows 10, LTSC, SSH library upgrade with SHA 256 support. So various changes. Obviously, this isn't everything, but lots
yeah.
of stuff we're checking out. You can download it today. You can download a trial. You can also get rolled up into the list through Octopus Cloud if you're a cloud provider or cloud customer. But certainly take the time to check it out. Any final thoughts before we wrap up this video there, Bob?
No, I didn't realize how many changes went out with 2024.2 until I started going through the what's new because I'm just so used to being on Octopus Cloud. And I was like, oh, wow, that is a lot.
Yeah, we're spoiled. We're on
Yeah.
cloud. You could just get the changes and they just light up. So, anyways, yeah, check it out. It's available at octopus.com/what's new. Bob, thanks a lot for joining me. Take care.
Yeah, not a problem. Have a great one.